Welcome to Me Financial, the podcast designed to inspire your financial life. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. I am Michelle Moses, your host. I'm a certified financial planner, realtor, and former e-commerce store owner. And today we are going to be talking about title fraud. I am excited about this one. I bet the stories are going to be good. And I have Tanner Herrick here talking to me about this. He is the Executive Vice President of Premier Title here in Phoenix, Arizona, and has been in the title business for over 20 years. Premier Title prides itself on catering to any situation and calls itself a boutique title company. Thank you so much for being on.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Okay. As I said, I am excited to talk about this. So, maybe we should start with what title fraud is, and then I want to talk about how prevalent it is, or is it how common it is and how much we need to worry about it. So let's just talk about like what it is at first.
Well, it's defrauding multiple entities across the board. So that's, fraud comes in many different shapes, forms. It's interesting because the first, 10 plus years in the industry, this really wasn't prevalent. So I would say,
oh, so this is kind of a new thing.
This really, what's going on now is definitely something that it's weekly, it's daily, it's hourly.
What?
Yeah. So we have multiple sets of basically buffering systems that are going through and making sure that we're not being frauded on all levels. So there's obviously the financial fraud, title and escrow, where they're changing documents. That's happening all the time. So the diligence of our staff, we can't stress that enough of how diligent they have to be, because the escrow officers, a lot of this stuff is hair on fire. Things are closing in a week. You got 30 plus closings in a week.
Right.
So myself, I had my own desk for years. And thankfully, I'm kind of dating myself a little bit, but back then it just wasn't as prevalent. You didn't have, I think just back then was more like wire fraud, where now it's across all.
Things are just getting more sophisticated too, because I think, we all have access to these computers that can do a lot more, whereas before not as many people had access to that.
Yeah. So I'll give you a couple examples of stuff. This is literally within the last month. So we had an individual or group. We call them fraudsters. I think it's still kind of a weird name.
Yeah,
but that's what they call.
Hey, whatever.
Yeah. So they call them fraudsters. They had hacked into an email system for one of the agents and was basically acting as them. They had no idea.
I heard about this when it comes to financial advising and people saying it was coming from the client and emailing the financial advisor. Yeah.
Right. So our staff, what we tell them is, when the tone seems different, because we really know a nice thing about being a boutique title company is that we really know our people.
Mm-hmm.
So when the tone's off, when the email's off, when something just feels off,
you pick up the phone.
We pick up the phone and call. And sure enough, we called the individual, had no idea this was going on. This is at the closing too, where they're trying to redirect funds.
Wow. To a different, they're trying to change all the wiring.
Trying to change the commissions to a different place. So they're basically going to take his commissions.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So
wow, that's getting really sophisticated and into the nitty gritty.
It really is.
Yeah.
You wouldn't, unless, there's just such small, minute things, but we're just hypersensitive to it. It's a whole different world that we live in now.
Mm-hmm.
You have, two of the biggest title companies in the United States had both been breached in the last several months. That to me is slightly terrifying.
Yeah.
Because these are companies that spend millions and millions of dollars to, safeguard these processes.
And what does that mean when they've been breached? Is it that the fraudsters are getting in there and they're trying to act as the title company and do the paperwork, or they're just trying to steal the information? Or is it all of it?
I don't really know the extent personally of these two. I know that it shut operating systems down. I know it just completely
shut down their computers and everything.
It wreaked havoc across the board. So it's manifesting as something completely different than it did before. I mean, it was 10 years ago, we're worrying about wire fraud, and even just, I remember when we introduced wiring instructions to new clients. And I remember clients fighting me tooth and nail that I had to read it out to them. They had to read it back. We had to have that conversation. They thought it was crazy. Now I can't imagine any of our staff not
doing that.
At least twice.
Right. And I think that's what everybody knows. If you've closed on any real estate transaction, you know how important the links are and the numbers, and that it's correct. Yeah.
100%.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think we had touched on, I'll touch on the deed stuff that we were talking about. So the financials, one completely different thing, but the deed, we see all kinds of, I mean, we had touched on this for a minute earlier, there's certain groups across the United States that are going and claiming eminent domain, which is crazy to me that, you can go. So what they're doing is they're actually targeting vacant lots that are cash. There's no debt on them. So people aren't consistently looking at these are large landowners.
This is what I read in the paper, and this is why I contacted you to do this. Is I read this in the paper that a lot of it is happening on land, vacant land, that has just been sitting there for a long time that doesn't get visited a lot. Like there's not a lot of activity.
Yeah, so there's
or vacant houses, I guess, too, that have been sitting there for a long time.
So there's two different. I think the city did it a little bit more for maintenance purposes. Homelessness, maintenance. With our large landowners that are just landowners, especially in Paradise Valley. I have one particular story where a gentleman, large developer, Paradise Valley, this particular group had taken a deed and claimed it over to them. And somehow, some way got this recorded. So when we pull up our chain of title, which is our historical data, when we go to pull a title commitment, that pulled in. So I have a client that's completely freaking out saying, how the heck did somebody do this?
Did they fake his signature?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah. So that's how, because do the signatures have to match and all that? Okay.
No, the seller has to actually obviously sign.
Right.
So it's a fictitious document.
Okay.
You've got a group of people who are claiming eminent domain over certain parts of Phoenix. I mean, we've seen this multiple times.
And so do they just print up a deed of trust and then they're just sending it to the city to be filed? They're not even going through a title company, or are they going through?
They're definitely not going through a title company.
They're just sending it to the city. Because I've done that. I've quitclaimed my deed to a rental house, a house I lived in, and you just send it into the city.
Right. So
or the county, I should say.
If there's no title insurance done and it's done by a title company, in the top left, it'll say courtesy recording of, and then it'll name the title company.
Okay.
Or, you can take it down to, the recorder's office, Maricopa County Recorder's Office, and they can go through and record it, which I think there needs more checks and balances system
in that system.
There has to be
authentication.
There has to be. I mean, this is becoming a huge issue,
right?
So I think now, it's really bringing to light the inadequacies of that process,
right? So, and don't you think that because you can just go online and search up any deed of any land, and even if you had it in a trust or something, somebody's still signing on that, right?
Yeah,
and they could just create something, and if they're targeting you,
they'll duplicate the vesting. They'll basically go off, and whoever the sellers are, they'll see how they took title. All you got to do is you look up the legal description. I mean, warranty deeds, you can find them anywhere,
right?
A quick claim deed, warranty deed, anything like that.
Yeah.
So that's where I see a huge issue on a state by state. I can't speak to other states, but just locally here, I see that being a huge issue.
I agree. Yeah, because I lived in Missouri for a period of time, and it was really hard to find. Like, you had to have an account in order to view the deeds, and you needed to be a lawyer. And I do think that something like that, I don't know how it is from state to state, but here, it is pretty open. Yeah. And so it kind of reminds me of how the credit was when you used to get your identity stolen.
Right.
Whereas now, if you get your identity stolen, it's like, oh, okay, it happens to so many people.
Right.
But at the beginning, it was so hard for people to prove it, right? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't so common. So it kind of seems like this is kind of the same thing almost, only it's property. It's kind of a big deal.
It does, because it muddies up the chain of title. So when the next person goes to go buy that, they're going to say, well, why is there a correct So then you'll have to put a corrective deed on the property.
Well, yeah. So yeah, what happens with this developer? So did you have to go to court and prove it was fraud, or how do you do that?
Yeah, I mean, essentially we went, because we knew what it was. We can go record. So we went and did a corrective deed.
Okay.
That took them off. But we also, you also let the recorder know that this is so. Our head of title basically went out, reached out to the recorder's office and said, this is what's going on. This particular group, we've seen it multiple times. So if you do see this group, if something like this is on something, let your people know.
Okay.
So it's really about awareness.
Right.
I mean,
right.
If we know certain groups are doing this over and over and over, we kind of know who the guilty party is. So I think it's upon all of us in the industry, to
try to catch all of this.
Yeah, just educate everybody on what's going on.
Yeah.
It's kind of a group effort.
So is the deed that you filed called a corrective deed?
That would be a corrective deed.
Okay. So it's actually titled that.
And you're stating exactly why.
Okay.
So this is an erroneous, you can actually record an erroneous recording.
Okay.
The re-recording.
So, which I kind of go back to, how does anybody know who the real, right? I mean, that's kind of where it gets to, is like, okay, well, we have all these legal documents. How do I know that you're the right person and you're not the right? Yeah. I could see how this gets really confusing and how we might need to step it up a little bit with this process.
I think across the board, everybody needs to be more,
diligent and yeah. So what would have happened if you wouldn't have caught that? Or if your developer wouldn't have caught that? Would they have been able to go and sell that property?
They've tried. I mean, so we've had that happen as well, where they took it a step further and then they went and basically put we had one that was actually up on Zillow. So they took it, they did this, they put it on Zillow. We get the escrow. We look at it. They tried to close it with 2 different title companies just to try to get one of them.
Oh my gosh.
So the other title company was actually at the finish line where we figured out this was fictitious. Mm-hmm. We had to actually call the other title company.
And how did you know the other title company was doing anything?
One of the other agents.
Oh, really?
Yeah. One of the other agents was confused as to who was doing the actual closing.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
So really the real estate agent needs to be really diligent too. I mean, everybody needs to be diligent.
Yeah.
Because I mean, they're contacting an agent to put this up for sale, most likely. Mm-hmm. So the agent really needs to verify that they actually own it and I think that also is going to be coming into play. It's not just, hey, can you sell my house?
Yeah. So documents had come over from 2 different title companies, thankfully on that one. Where we had sent something over, the other title company had sent something over, and they were literally ready to record on it.
Wow.
So just to unwind that mess, I mean, it just causes, so much time and energy for your staff.
Right.
And I think that's why our title team is so hypersensitive to it, because they know how much of a pain it is to unwind all
I totally get that. Yeah. You don't want to make a mistake kind of thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. And so who really loses in this is not only the person that owns the property, but the person that was going to go buy from these fictitious people, because
100%.
They're going to then wire to these fictitious people, the fraudsters, and then they're not really going to own a property.
Correct.
Man.
Yeah. If that wire would have went out so you had the buyers who actually wired it to title company B. Thankfully, the money didn't go out. They were able to get their money back, but that's one of the things that we're seeing now that is just so wild that these people are coming up with this. But I think that's another reason why they're making everybody register. So what we typically do on something like that, when there's a piece of land, the tax bill is going to go to a completely different address.
Right.
So we send all the information, we look it up online and make sure that all the documentation, and that's actually helped us once as well. Where we had that happen, we sent the docs over. We had a person call us back and say, "What the heck? My property's not for sale." Wow. This is something that literally happens monthly. I mean, I
had no idea it was that often.
Yeah, I mean, we do 500 plus transactions a month. So for us, I mean, there's always going to be somebody out there.
Yeah. Okay. What I read when I was reading the article before I called you to do this topic, they said to do a Google alert on the address of your properties so that if it does come up for sale on Zillow or anywhere else, that you would get an alert on it.
Right.
So I did that, even though I live in the house, but if I had,
know.
but if you had a vacant piece of land or something, I would highly recommend, just because you don't go visit it and it's not something, it's definitely something that could happen right under your nose.
I think they're definitely looking for safeguards like that across the board in the industry that, can alert people to stuff like this. Because some people don't know. My parents personally, they own land all over, they've several states, and, they had stuff in Nevada and Nebraska, and there were years where they didn't check on anything.
Yeah. That's why do you? Yeah.
Could have been transferred.
You're owning land for 10 years plus. Yeah. So it's not like something that you're, going to check on.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So do you think that's a good thing to do, is do a Google alert on your address?
100%.
Okay.
You can never be too safe.
I know.
I feel like with all the stuff that we subscribe to, like I'm slightly paranoid now where it's like, okay, LifeLock, what kind of alerts can I have, on
for everything
that I have? Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's just a pain. It can be fixed, but you don't want to go through the time and effort. It'd take hours and days. Yeah.
Sure. And it's better to know as soon as it happens.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because some of the stuff we just don't know. It's we don't check.
So, okay. So it sounds like you want to make sure that you're going with a good title company that is, because I feel like when you're doing a transaction, it's just kind of like, hey, go with so-and-so title.
Right.
And you really do maybe want to call the title company and say, what are you doing for fraud? How with it are they? Or maybe get a recommendation from someone that that they're more boutique like what you are.
Right.
Okay.
So the nice part about us, our shareholders are First American Title. So it's like having Big Brother in the background watching, but we get to operate as a boutique agent, which really is the best of both worlds, because there's several levels of authentication, verification for fraud, for wire fraud, for deed fraud.
Okay.
That's where I feel like we're pretty lucky that, with some of the bigger title companies, it's really a volume basis. We're not really focused on that. That's not our business model. Ours is really quality over quality. So,
okay. Well, and you're the smaller boutique firm, but I think also the people because there's always people that think they can do real estate transactions on their own, off the side, so that they don't have to pay. And I just think with all this fraud that it might be a good idea to have people that know what they're doing and just pay the $1,000 or a couple $1,000, that even if you're doing it on your own, just go to a title company and say, hey, can you check this out or something, right?
100%.
Okay.
Yeah. That should be as a real estate agent, that should be part of your team.
Yeah.
We do a lot of education. We do a lot of classes, we do a lot of stuff like that where, I think it's paramount in this day and age.
Yeah.
The more education that we have, we pass that on, to our agents, which, it really is a partnership at the end of the day. So it's all about educating your partners.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. And I think that, the real estate, and I get it with like Redfin and, all Zillow, and that people are just way more educated about real estate. But I tried to sell a house on my own when I lived in Missouri, and because I was like, I want to see what this is like. And real estate agents and title companies, I really value them now and what they do, because there is more that goes into it than what I think the average person knows. And if you don't want to have fraud happen to you. So are there other things that you think that people could do? I would think just getting on the phone, right? And calling.
Yeah, it's really as simple as being diligent.
Yeah.
And it's kind of common sense stuff that, we all get so busy and everybody's going 100 miles an hour, but it's really slowing down and taking a second and third look at your documents and, the correspondence going back and forth. This isn't rocket science. It really is something that, where we're just a little bit more diligent, slow down, take the time to look things over, and you're going to, it's going to happen.
Right. And it just makes sure. Yeah. And if you're diligent about it, you'll probably check it, or
you'll catch it.
You'll catch it.
We catch stuff weekly.
Yeah.
I could give 15 more stories of things that have happened within our company.
There were, when I took some fraud classes on the financial planning side, and the email thing came up, I had no idea about that. Somebody had hacked into this client's email and was sending, trades to, hey, I want to redo my bathroom. Can you send $50,000 to such and such bank? And they were changing the bank,
Yeah.
And I'm telling this story because you guys can go into your email and look at your sent messages. because if someone has hacked into your email, but get a really good, set up your 2-factor authorization, set up your
100%.
authentication app, do all of that, because that really does catch a lot of it if you just set up those things. But then he went into this, the client went into sent messages and could see all these messages that these people were sending from his email address. So I had no idea until all of that. So, these people are getting super sophisticated. I just got a text yesterday about, hey, we're trying to deliver a package to your house and we don't have the right address. Click here to update it. And it was from a Hotmail account.
Nope.
No, I don't think so.
We have, we had another one last week. This kind of reminds me is we had another one that was, they were going to wire in $10 million just into our escrow account. And,
too good to be true. Yeah.
This is like the Prince of Africa thing where you're like, I'm like, come on, guys. Like, you guys are smarter than this. Like, I was like, well, the first question I ask is, have you met them in person? Have you done any form of, other than email communication? Anybody can, the phone, it's like, have you seen this person? Have you been with him? Have you went, just asking questions like that. I told him, I said, we'd love to close another $10 million in escrows, but at the same time, we don't want you guys wasting any time on this. So I kind of gave them a little bit of a list of what I thought, these are questions that I would personally ask. They did them, and
they went another way.
Of course they went another direction. So,
okay. So a lot of it is just being diligent. And looking at the details and okay.
But I do appreciate the fact that this is somebody who's been in the business 20 years as well, where it's just, they're asking me for my advice, which I think as a partner, I think a valued partner, you have those conversations, you brainstorm on what you think, and then come up with a plan.
Yeah. Okay. I had no idea that this was so prevalent. You guys, I thought I was going to ask this and he'd be like, yeah, it happens like once a month.
No, it's not.
This is like a regular thing. Well, because it's big money. So I guess
it's really big money.
Yeah. So I guess that's why they go after it. This isn't $10 gift cards.
Nope.
Yeah. If they hit this is like a big payday. So
it really is.
Yeah. Okay. So we think being diligent, picking up the phone, putting a Google alert is a good idea.
Google alert's a great idea.
Knowing your title company and knowing that so picking up the phone or getting a great referral for a title company so that that they're dotting the I's and crossing the T's.
Any red flags, you ask your team. If you feel off about something, there's always, you're going to have that intuition where if it's too good to be true.
Mm-hmm.
I think 99% of the time, that's just follow your instinct on those things. Call your team, your partners, and kind of, put together a plan.
Right. Yeah. And I think as real estate agents, we need to verify that they actually they own the land or the house before signing a contract and listing anything. There needs to be some verification process. Yeah.
And that's an easy call to your title company.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It takes us 2 minutes to do.
Okay.
So.
All right. Wonderful. Where you think we're missing anything? You got any really juicy stories that we should wrap up with or anything? That one you told is pretty juicy.
Yeah. I went out the gates with the one. So sorry.
No, that's okay.
No, I was excited to do this topic because I don't think enough of this has been brought to light.
I agree.
It's kind of the ostrich head in the sand deal. And I appreciate you bringing me on. And I think this is great because it brings a little light to a subject that needs,
good.
It needs some light shine on.
Good. Yeah, I agree. Because the article I read was, short.
Yeah.
And it gave just a couple tips. And I was like, man, we really need to get the word out about this. So good. I'm glad that you feel that way. Wonderful. Absolutely. Okay. Well, I hope that you guys got something out of this. And thank you so much for listening. And thank you for being on. I appreciate you taking the time. Okay. Have a great day. And thanks for listening, you guys.